So this week's episode is a continuation, if you will, sort of a bonus content. Maria Elena and I were talking about how it would have been really nice to have given you some tips on how to create your reality. And so we put our heads together this week and we decided to give you our top 10. So Maria Elena has 5 and I have 5 ways to create your reality.
Right. Just some tools to put in your tool belt.
Yes. So we highly recommend you get a piece of paper and a pen and be prepared to pause so that you can write down anything that really resonates for you. I'm also going to give you in my first tip some questions that you can ask. So you're probably going to want to write these things down. So here we go. All right. My first tip is called have a conversation with yourself. So often there is a disconnect between the head and the heart. The mind tends to lean to the negative in an effort to keep us safe, right? That's its job. Basing its decisions solely on past experiences. Well, what that does is it keeps us from ever taking those sort of leaps of faith. It keeps us from creating something outside of the norm. Whereas the heart, which is a soul desire based action, has a much more leap and see what happens sort of outlook.
Right.
If you're not living the life you want, it's likely because you're allowing the mind to be the exclusive driver in your life. Now, as humans, we need both the mind and the heart to work together so that we can take both leaps of faith and also not repeat those patterns that maybe aren't so helpful for us. Mm-hmm. So this tip is about having a conversation with yourself to ease your fears so you can make the changes you want to create the reality you want. So here are the 7 questions when you're battling. So this is for the purpose of, let's say there's this dream project you want to do or this dream career or something you're really wanting to start or begin, and you're having this battle of your mind is telling you, no, it won't work. You're going to fail. You never complete anything. Whatever that critic on your shoulder is.
Dolores Cannon calls that part of your mind Mr. Stupid. It's very critical, but it kind of makes sense. She's always like, tell Mr. Stupid to get out of here and stop.
So that critic can often keep us from really pursuing things. So here are the 7 questions to ask yourself to move through this natural thing that happens. Number 1, what's the worst thing that could happen if I make this change?
That's a good one.
And we so rarely ever ask that question, right? The mind automatically goes into, nope, it's not going to work. And we don't stop and go, well, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? The brain's thinking, the world will blow up if I don't, if it doesn't work. But that's actually not what happens.
No.
The second question, could the worst thing happen whether I make the change or not?
Okay, say it again.
Could the worst thing that you imagine to happen whether you make that change or not?
Yeah, could it happen anyway?
Could it happen anyway?
That's
great question to ask, right? You could fail. Well, you could fail what you're doing now, right? How does that stop you? Number 3, what do I have to lose if I make the change? Right? So again, we don't ask these questions. We just assume it will be the end of the world. Maybe you lose some time. Maybe you lose some money. But what is life about?
Right. We don't think we think it through at all. We just shut down.
Right.
So, yeah, this is really good.
Number 4, what do I have to lose if I don't make the change? That's a really big thing, right? Because if we don't pursue our dream, if we don't take that leap, well, life is pretty damn boring.
Right.
Right? Then you're not living your dream. So usually the worst thing that can happen if you don't make the change is awful.
Yeah.
You could be miserable. You could just be surviving. You could be in,
And then you wake up one day and you're like, wow, I never went for my dream. I never, took that leap. And it comes up. It like sneaks up on you and you're like, oh my gosh, I thought I had more time. Or
It happened to me. What are we on? 5. What are the benefits of making the change? So, typical pros cons list. What are the benefits? What could happen? Even if nothing more than I like what I do every day, that is worth a change in my book.
Yeah, definitely.
Number 6, is this change worth my time and effort? And we have to really ask ourselves that. Is this thing I want worth my time and effort? And if it's happiness, hell yes.
Well, yeah. I feel like the answer is always going to be yes.
Right? I mean,
once you think it through and
exactly.
ask. Yeah.
These questions aren't difficult to answer. It's just we don't ever ask them.
Yeah, you're right.
So the last question, the big one, is the change worth the risk? So those are your 7 questions.
Yes, guys.
Yeah, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Absolutely.
And those are really good.
Yeah. All right. Maria Elena?
So my first tip is 3 parts. It's imagine, emotion, and action. So the first part of creating your reality is the visualization, the imagining what you want. And you can do this through journaling. You can do a vision board, guided meditation, all of that stuff. Daydreaming. Did I say journaling? Mm-hmm. I did say journaling. And my favorite I call pre-dreaming. So before I go to sleep at night and actually dream, I kind of daydream before I dream. I call it pre-dreaming. And I just think of all the wonderful things that I want to happen. And it could be something simple, or it could be like a huge lifelong dream, or just something wonderful that I want to happen. And I play it out before I go to sleep. And it's a good way to fall asleep.
Yeah, I love that because, when we dream, when we visualize, actually, the body doesn't know the difference. The mind doesn't know the difference. The emotions don't know the difference between the dream, visioning, journeying, meditation state and quote unquote reality. It experiences it the exact same. So if you spend that time visioning it,
right,
your body's like, oh, yeah. I like this. I have this. I love that.
Absolutely.
Then what was the
second
part? And then that
rolls into the second part, which is the emotion behind it. So the feeling. So you have to have the feeling with the visualization and truly feel how you would feel if these dreams came true. And feel as though they're already happening. I feel like that's important. Mm-hmm. And this is easy to do, in meditation. Sometimes when you're in meditation and you're so touched that you cry or any of that stuff, you feel the joy. Mm-hmm. And it's good to try to carry those feelings with you throughout the day, after your meditation and stuff. Find that feeling, hold on to it, and carry it throughout the day. Yeah. So you have the dreaming part, the visualization, you have the emotion behind it, and then you got to get your butt out there and do something about it. So the imaginative creation is wonderful and fun, and the emotion is, powerful, but you still got to do some work.
Definitely.
And so there's 2 parts to the action. And the first part is act as though it's already happening for you. So, an example, if you want to manifest your soulmate, or, just some wonderful partner, you're looking for love, create space in your closet. Make a place at the table. They're coming. I know they're coming, so act as though they're already coming.
That's a great idea.
And then the other part is actually getting out there. So you want to meet someone. You can't just sit at home on your couch and meet someone. So
you mean they're not just going to knock on the door?
You're sitting here daydreaming and they're just going to show up and put your knight in shining armor at your door. Doesn't work that way. So get out there and go, obviously go to places. My friend the other day was like, well, if you want to get out there, I'm like, well, where would I even go to meet someone? She's like, you should date a yogi. Go take a yoga class. And I just thought that was hilarious. That's what she thought I should date, is a yogi. I love that. But she had a point. You have to get out there and...
Yeah, it doesn't mean go to a bar. Go to the things you're interested in. If you're a nature lover, go to the park. Right. You will meet somebody at the park.
Right. Yeah. And same thing with work. If you want that promotion, act confidently as though you're already getting it, but still, when you go to work, do things that are gonna, earn that promotion.
Absolutely.
So there's 2 parts to it. So yeah, imagine, emotion, and action.
I love it. All right, my next one is take one step at a time.
Very good.
So the brain wants to know the end result before you have even taken the first step. This is a really natural state that we go into. We're like, okay, I'm going to start this business. What does that look like 10 years from now?
Yeah.
Back up, back up, back up, back up. We give so much power to the mind. We often don't get very far, or worse, we don't really even get started on creating the life we want. We're so worried about the details and the limitations and the obstacles that any forward action is trumped by overwhelm, confusion, and frustration.
Right.
If you're worried about 10 years from now, you're not even going to open the door of your business, right? So it's important to have a clear vision. Yes, you want to have some goals and an end result in mind, so you have a direction to move towards. But you do this by focusing on the first next step. Not 10 steps down the road, not 5 steps down the road, but the first next step. Then when you do that, then the next step, then the next step, right? That's how you get moving. That's how you create. So then, before you know it, if you do it in this way, you are well on your way to creating the reality you want without being in this constant battle of needing to know what it's going to look like at the end. Because even if you have a vision, the chances of it actually looking like that at the end are pretty much nil.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
How a business transforms, or whatever entrepreneurial project you're wanting to create, building a house, a relationship, how they actually end up, we don't know.
Right.
And we never know. And life changes and moves and morphs. And when we worry about that end result, and that's all we're focused on, we're not adapting in the moment to all the possibilities that are coming
up for disappointment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So take one step at a time, and then you actually can progress towards what you're wanting.
It seems like such a small step. No, I didn't mean to be. I wasn't trying to be cute, but it was kind of cute. But when you think about it, everyone's in such a rush, or so like that they get overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. So it's a very important thing to just take that one step at a time.
One step at a time, and that can be really hard. I'm a doer.
Yeah.
I love to achieve. I'm triple Aquarian, so I am a in the mind, conceptual.
Oh, you are triple Aquarian.
Ideas, concepts constantly running in my mind. Yeah. I am on constant create mode. And also I know that if I want something to happen, I have to take the first step.
Right.
I can't just continue to be in create mode, because I can create all day long, but nothing actually happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing, goes back to the last one we were talking about, the create mode. You gotta step out of that. One step at a time.
One step at a
time. So my second one, it's kind of simple. It's just speak it into existence. Because words have power, and we talk about that a lot on this podcast, the power of your words. And replacing words like I will, I am with, replace words like I will, hold on, I'm lost. with I am and it is. Instead of saying I can or I will, say I am, or this is already. So just speaking it into existence. I had a couple of different situations that happened to me, and it got me thinking, am I psychic, or am I creating my reality? Do I know it's going to happen already, so that's why it happened, or am I speaking it into existence? And one of the times it was actually this snake ring. Mm-hmm. I lost it. And I got in my car to go to work, and I just bought it too. And I was like, oh, bummer. I lost the ring. And I was thinking about it, and I said, you know what? Don't worry about it. It's in the bathroom. And I said it so confidently. It's in the bathroom. And so the next day, I got out of the shower, and I said, the ring's under the purple rug. And I believed it, and I spoke it, and the ring was under the purple rug. And that seems so silly, but
it seems amazing.
Yeah. I was like, okay, am I psychic, or did I create that? Because I just was confident in it, Mm-hmm. So speak your reality, speak it into existence.
Absolutely. I'm always correcting clients. They'll attest to this. Don't say I have something unless you want it, because when you say I have, you do create it.
Yeah.
So the same is true if you want something. I have this.
Yes.
I have this. Just make sure you're not saying I have for things you don't want, like illnesses and disease
illness,
and pain and all the, the stuff you don't want.
Well, that goes along with it too, like the creating a reality in the opposite way.
Right.
Like speaking it into existence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever you say, your body believes. Whatever you say, your emotions believe. Whatever you say, your mind believes.
How did you say you said some wording on that, like when I was talking about my friend, she has anxiety.
Oh, yes. I say you experience anxiety, right? So, this is kind of a tangent, but it's an important thing since we're on the subject. People do have experiences of intense emotions, intense feelings. And so we don't want to negate them and ignore them or pretend they don't exist. But when you use the words I experience versus I have, you get to have the experience, but it doesn't lock into your body.
Right.
It moves through your body. When you say I'm experiencing, an experience comes and goes.
Right.
So it gives it permission to leave. The minute you say I have it, your body goes, okay, sure, we'll attach that and lock it into your system.
You got it now.
You got it now. Right. So you want to be careful about those kinds of things. So the I have is powerful both directions. Make sure it's in the direction of the reality you want to create.
I have $1 million.
There you go. Exactly. Millions of dollars. All right. So my next one is learn to rescue yourself. One of the hardest things to do is to take care of ourselves when life is challenging, right? I know, I get it. I've been there. If you're down, if your energy's low, there is no hope of creating a reality you want, right? We get drained. So this is a tip I always give to my clients. When you are feeling good, and you must be feeling good to do this, make lists of things you love to do that bring you joy or that calm you down, depending on the type of rescue that is most beneficial for you. So if you're somebody who experiences a lot of anxiousness and experiences a lot of anxiety, you're going to want a list of calm down things. If you're somebody who tends to be on the more depressed side or the isolating type of personality when you're overwhelmed, you're going to want a list of things you love to do or things that bring you joy.
Right.
Okay, so that's the principle behind it. And then you're going to divide those lists into 3 categories: quick actions, medium actions, longer actions. And I always say, try to make a list of at least 5 or more things for each category. In other words, you have a list of 5 quick cures, 5 cures that take a little bit more time, and then 5 cures where you have some time to invest. Right? Okay. And then you're going to transfer them onto index cards. And you're going to carry those things with you. You're going to put them in your purse or your book bag or your wallet. You're going to put some in your glove compartment. You're going to put some in your nightstand. You can put some on the refrigerator.
That's a good one.
Yeah, right? The point is that you want to have them accessible. So as soon as your energy starts to dive, as soon as you're starting to feel overwhelmed, as soon as you're like, I hate the world and I'm never going outside again, or you're like, so anxious you cannot think of anything, because when we're in that state, we are not thinking about how can I take care of myself, right? So when you have these lists and you start to feel bad, you pull them out. What are some quick things I can do to take care of myself right now to start to shift the energy? It's helpful to do it as soon as you notice it, but it's also, if you're in it, oh yeah, I have my list. Where's my list? Let me find something I can do. And you make it so that you have these things available, right? Whatever your lists happen to be, they need to be like around you, not, well, I need to go on a 3-week vacation, which isn't necessarily accessible for you when you're in the midst of being, however you're feeling.
It would be wonderful, but yeah.
Right. So engaging in these actions will re-energize you and bring you back to center, back to your true self, so you can keep moving forward. So it's unreasonable to think that we can constantly be in this state of creating joy and this perfect life, right? Because life happens and, we're not living alone on an island, right? We have billions of other people on the planet and other things are happening and we're interacting and we're in relationships. So we are going to be sometimes not moving in the direction we want to move in. So having these lists for you of quick cures, medium cures, longer term cures to help pull you out is really important.
Get you back centered.
Get you back centered. And I could give you lists and lists of things to do, but it doesn't matter what my list of things for you to do is, right? My list of things that are quick and helpful aren't necessarily going to be yours. They need to be things that make you feel good.
Right.
Right.
And like you said, you wrote them when you were feeling good.
Right.
So they're very cater to what you want.
Exactly. And that's important. You can go on Pinterest and find a million lists of self-care tips and that kind of stuff, and they all have take a bath. Well, not everybody's a bath person.
That's true.
I mean, you are.
Yeah.
But not everyone's a bath person.
Right.
I haven't had a tub for years. So for me, as much as I'd love a tub and bath, I can't take one.
Right.
So I need other things that can work for me. And it doesn't matter that it makes sense or it makes it to anybody else's list.
Right.
It needs to be your list.
No one needs
of things.
to know about your list. It's just for you.
Exactly.
So it's whatever makes you feel good.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. My next one is be mindful. So when creating your reality, you don't realize how important it is of being mindful of what you watch on TV.
Yes.
What you watch on TV, even movies you watch, stuff that's in the news, media, anything that keeps you in fear or keeps you distracted from what you really need to be paying attention to. The news is a big one. I know we've talked about this, that I just don't watch the news. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, you're not... what's the word? You're not aware. You need to be aware of these things. And I'm always like, why do I need to be aware of these things? I can't help these things. And I always say, if it's near me and I can help, I want to know about it. If it's in another country or it's something that I can't have any control over, why am I going to put myself in fear? Why am I going to make myself feel dreadful every day worrying about it? And, and then all of the scandal and all of the kind of pointless stuff that gets out there, kind of
reality television, maybe, which is so not reality. Yeah,
but it's just,
anything that keeps you in fear is not going to help you create your reality.
Right.
So if you're watching something, listening something, reading something, engaging in anything that is creating that fear mindset, stop if you want to create something else.
Even
fear is like quicksand.
I was talking to you about the horror movie stuff that I used to watch them all the time, and I used to have horrible nightmares, and that seems like, well, duh, but no, they were really, really bad, and it wasn't until a couple of years ago, really, that I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be watching this horrible stuff. I'm having these horrible dreams, but it's just what we it's important what we put into our body to nourish our body. It's just as important what we put into our mind.
Absolutely.
To nourish our mind. And I was trying to find, I thought I had it written down, this thing I found from QHHT forum, something on Instagram, but it was about The Simpsons created it. And I don't know how many of you listeners know about The Simpsons. No, The Simpsons predicted it theory. But it's this huge theory of all these old Simpson episodes that actually came true. And there's are they time travelers? Are they what is going on? And this thing said something like, The Simpsons didn't predict it. The Simpsons put it out there so you would focus on it and you would create the reality. Yeah. So be careful what you focus on because that's the reality you create.
Absolutely.
And I was like, ooh, mic drop on that one.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
Because I never heard that as a theory.
Right. Which is horrifying to me. The cartoon has created a reality, but okay.
But you know how many people watch this? I mean, I didn't really. I know The Simpsons. I wasn't a Simpsons person. But a lot of people watched it.
That's true.
So.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay, my next one is make sure you are creating what you want and not what someone else wants. And so this is a deep subject we could actually spend an entire podcast on. But I want to at least hit some highlights that are really important, especially if you're feeling stuck and not living the life you want. From the time we can talk, right? We are asked what we want to be when we grow up. Then we spend the next 18 to 20 years either trying to accomplish that or trying to please parents. Most people do that. Rarely do we stop and say, I don't want to do that anymore. Or if we do speak up, we are shamed for giving up. We're called flighty for changing our minds, or some other judgment is laid at our feet for not wanting to be the thing we wanted to be when we were 2, right? Or even what we wanted to do in high school, or even maybe we went into college wanting to do this thing,
right,
but then we realized it wasn't a thing, but we didn't have the courage to speak up and say, I don't want to do this thing.
Right.
I'm sorry you just spent all this money on 4 years of college, but I really don't want to be an attorney, or I don't really want to be a doctor.
You don't want to continue on that path and get stuck in something that you're going to hate.
Exactly. Yeah. So we go through life achieving things that are very often not important to our authentic self. And so my point is that if you are striving and struggling and nothing is happening, or it just isn't lighting you up, then you aren't trying to create a reality you want. You are creating a reality someone else wants. And that's a really, really big point. If it feels misaligned, if it feels like it's hard, and not like hard, okay, I've got to put some effort into this, but like
there's a difference.
It is depleting my energy. I'm overwhelmed. This is not fulfilling. You are not pursuing something that is important to you.
And I think a lot of times we think, because we're all about like putting in the hard work, like, I just need to get through it. I'm just being like, I'm just complaining, or like, and it's like, no, if it doesn't feel right to you and it's not in alignment with you, then you need to like
do something else,
do something different. Yeah.
Right. Because doing something for someone else is not your job in this world. We come in,
even your parents,
even though they're your parents. Won't like this, but that's too bad.
Yeah. Sorry, parents.
Sorry. I mean, I'm a parent too, but I very much supported my children. It didn't matter what they wanted to do as long as they were happy.
Same.
And I think, there's more of us that are like that now, but I think about my parents and their parents, and it wasn't about happiness. You did what you were supposed to do, what was expected of you.
It's like they already have your dream planned out for you before. Like, my daughter's going to be this.
Yeah.
And then,
no.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. So check yourself and ask the hard questions without judgment. Step into that liminal space of what if and what else. And if you are pursuing what you want, but you're still stuck, perhaps it's the way you're doing it, right? And take a different approach that is more aligned with who you are becoming. So if it's not working, ask some questions. Yeah. And make sure what you're doing is actually what you want. Not what you think you're supposed to do, not what other people think you're supposed to do, not trying to please others or disappoint others. That is not your purpose here on earth.
Right. And if you really stop and think about it, what feels good, It's like the hell yes and hell no thing that we talk about. It's like, how does that feel? If you think of this, is it a hell yes or is it a hell no?
Well, I say a sacred, holy no. Sacred or holy no.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Well, we might as well explain this. Okay, so one of the things I also do for clients is I say, is it a hell yes or is it a holy no? And the reason it's a holy or a sacred no is because as women, we're often taught we're not really allowed to say no. We feel like we're always supposed to please other people, or we're doing things for other people. So it's hard. Often no is hard to say. And it may be hard for men too. I'm not a man, so I can't speak for them. Doesn't seem that way, but maybe it's hard for them too to say no. I don't know. So you ask when you're wanting to do something or you're questioning, do you want to do this? Is it a hell yes? If it's not a hell yes, it's a holy no. It's a sacred no.
And you'll know.
You know.
If you, just close your eyes and think it and feel it, and you'll know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good one. So my next one is something called neutral or nonpolar attention. And practicing this means to rise above a situation and observe every angle without bias. Now, this one is tough, and it takes practice because it took me years to be able to do this, and I particularly did it in my workplace, but so you observe without feeding energy into either direction. You're just an observer. And so to manifest your own reality, you maintain a balanced perspective, and then you script the reality that aligns with your highest good. So it's like, I see this, but I choose this. And it goes back to the drama in the workplace. I think I might have talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but like for so long at work, everyone would get worked up about a certain person. I'm not saying no names, but and everyone would. It's almost like, what's it called when you trauma bond, sort of like everyone like you kind of like get on the same team.
The negative complaining bandwagon.
Yes, and at times you feel like you are helping by chiming in and like, I see you, I feel you, yeah, she is like that, you know, that whole thing, but you're really not. No. And then once you start doing that, you start noticing that things like that continue to happen. I've seen it happen in a day. Like, I go to work, start my day out that way, and then the rest of the day, like, one annoying thing happens, I'm, you know, hyper focused on that, and then it seems like every little thing that happens around me is annoying. And I'm like, how can this whole day be annoying? So I, you know, now I rise above the situation, I observe it, and I don't downplay that this is actually happening. Like, I see it, it's happening, but I don't give it my energy.
Yeah.
So I just give it that, like, neutral attention, and I walk away. And then I create the day I want at work and the reality I want at work. And ever since I started doing that, the one person I'm thinking in my mind that everyone used to complain about, they still complain about. And I get along just fine with. It's like I totally just shifted and created my reality at work. So it works. If you can do it, it's hard. You just have to, you know, step back, observe, think about like a lake, a serene lake, and pebbles get thrown into it. And the pebbles ripple out. And those are the things that happen, but you just remain like that calm, serene lake. It is, like I said, it's not easy, but with practice, you can.
This is the shamanic practice of non-judgment.
Okay.
Yeah, being in that space of non-judgment. And my favorite things are to say, isn't that interesting? Right? Rather than making a judgment one way or the other. It's a way to stay neutral, like you're saying, because, you know, people will, especially where you work, are going to complain and whine. Can you believe? And there's the gossiping and all that kind of stuff. And you don't want to be like stone-faced and no comment, right? That's not really very conducive to happy relationships. But you could say, isn't that interesting? Because interesting has no meaning one way or the other. It's not positive. It's not negative. Right. And it allows people to go, oh, you're not jumping on this bandwagon. Oh, you might have a different opinion. So I love that state. I don't think it's that hard. Well, that's not true. Judgment is a difficult thing to overcome because everything in our culture and society is based on judgment. Literally everything. I think some are easier than others.
A lot of people like drama.
That's true.
I don't know if they really like it. They honestly.
Well, you get addicted to it.
But it's like
It's like a drug.
It's like, absolutely.
Complaining is like a drug. Negativity is like a drug. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you feel like you're being supportive of your friends when you're complaining with them because you're like, I understand what you're going through, and then you get worked up too. Like, I saw it's just like a whole thing.
Right.
And you're helping more by not feeding into what everyone else is doing. So I'm going to start saying I like that. That's interesting.
That's interesting. Yep.
I like it.
Yeah. Cool. I love that. Okay. So my last one is give yourself energetic space. So this one really goes really well with the previous one I mentioned about make sure you're creating what you want and not what someone else wants. And that this practice gives you, make sure that you are not being energetically influenced by others.
Right.
So it also creates some energetic space around you so you can think more clearly and feel more clearly and then move forward from a more centered space. So this is about pushing out your aura, your energetic boundary, pushing it out. And so how you do this is you place your hands palm face out like at chest level, solar plexus level, heart level, that kind of area. And you kind of feel, where do you feel the edge of your energy? Now, when we are stressed out, when we are overwhelmed, when we are feeling depressed or down or anything that isn't basically joyful, our energy contracts and it gets really close to our body, which means there is literally no space between you and everything else that's going on outside, right? That means that everything can move into our mental, emotional, and physical body much faster.
Wow, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why we pick up negative.
That's why we pick,
we're negative.
Exactly. So what you want to do is put your hands out and you're just going to push your boundaries out. And this may take some practice. You may feel it kind of snap back. And you're just going to breathe and push your boundary out. And push it out as far as you're comfortable pushing it out. At least get it a foot away from you. If you can go all the way to your hands, extend out. And notice how the intensity of what you're feeling begins to calm down. It begins to even out and you're like, okay, I can breathe again. Because when we're overwhelmed and stressed out, we're shallow breathing. We're not like, we're just like, ah. So pushing your energy out gives you that space to be like, okay, now I can make a decision.
Right.
Now I know how I'm thinking and feeling without the influence of other people. And now I can create from this space of having space and not being inundated by or influenced by others.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'll tell a story. I don't normally tell stories. This is usually Maria Elena's thing, but I'll tell a story. I have a client and I teach all my clients how to do this. And she uses it particularly when she's driving. And she's like, when somebody's tailgating her or up her, trunk, she will literally push out her energy. And she's like, it never fails. They back off every time. So
I believe it. 100%.
Yeah. So you can push your energy out as far as you want. Right. And so she just pushes when she's driving, because I need this because I have terrible road rage. She pushes her energy out. They get off of her tail and she goes about her business.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's a really good way this isn't necessarily about creating your reality, but giving you a clear space to create from.
Right. And that's important.
It's very important.
Creating your reality. And that, we did not plan this. Me and Marnie both wrote our things down separately, but both of our last ones had to do with energy. And so really what you're talking about kind of goes with what I was going to talk about, which is just having energy protection tools, which is pretty much exactly what you said. I have a couple that are similar, and the first one has to do with like the aura protection. And so I kind of do the same thing. I do it in the morning, and I get a good distance of my aura around me, like where I want it to be. And then I focus on colors. So I like to do, and different colors mean different things. I tend to go with gold in my energy field. And so like you're doing a visualization of this for those of you who have never done it. And then I like to also put true blue around myself. And if I'm going somewhere where I really need some protection, I'll throw that like violet flame around me too for extra protection. And then I do this thing called planting roses, which I learned from a Pleiadian energy book. And I've been doing it for probably about 2 weeks now.
Yeah, I think so.
And it seems kind of weird at first, because I read it in the book at first, and then I got the audio so I could like listen to it, and now I freaking love it. I try to do it every day. And what you do is you plant roses. You plant one on your front, your left, your right, your back, and above your head. And you visualize these roses, and they can be whatever color you want. The colors tend to change. I smell them, I sense them, like really, really visualize them, plant them, see the roots going into the ground, and then at the end of the night when I get home, I check on the roses to see what state the roses are in, and they're always wilted. But sometimes, like I was saying earlier, they're crispy. I just blow them. They have served their purpose. They have protected me. So depending on what I'm around, when I check on the roses at the end of the night, I can see, the level of the protection that they gave me. And then I blow them away, and then I start over again. So that's just one of the things I do to protect my energy. And we were talking about like some other ones that you do, like the kyanite.
Yes. So there are lots of things to do to protect your energy, and I'm very conscious of how I talk about energetic protection and boundaries, because I think a lot of people think of this as against others.
Right.
And it is not against others. We don't put up boundaries and protection against others. We do it for ourselves.
Yes.
And that's a really important intentional energetic space to be in, because the minute you are against someone else, you're drawing that to you.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
So the intention is to protect my energy, because that is what I need, and not from or against anyone else. So I do have a morning routine. I use a black kyanite fan, or blade it's called, and I actually learned this from the Crystal Muse book by Heather Askenazi. And
it's a really good book.
It's a great book, and no, we are not getting paid for that. But it is a great book. I've done almost every one of her rituals. They're fantastic. And she has a particular way that she does it. She guides you through it in the book. And you spend like a minute on each chakra. I actually do it a little bit differently. And I kind of sweep my whole energy field over and over again. Mm-hmm. And I say, you may want to write this down. Here's my trick thing that I say every day, my secret sauce. I cleanse, clear, and release all cords, contracts, and limitations, all leaks, blocks, traumas, and wounds, all patterns, programs, beliefs, emotions, judgments, and fears from all layers. No, wait, not before that. Anything not serving me, anything that does not belong to me, from all layers, levels, lifetimes, and dimensions.
I remember that part.
So yes, it's a very long spiel.
But didn't you say it like elaborated over time?
It did. It began really like with cords, contracts, and limitations. It was only 3. Then over the years, it has increased to like, I basically cover all
the bases.
I cover all the bases. So I sweep my energy field with this black kyanite, and I am releasing, and it's intention setting. Making very clear, I want to clear my energy of anything that doesn't belong to me and it's not serving me.
Do you think it's, does it matter whether you do it day or night, like after?
I do it in the morning because it's my morning ritual.
Right.
However, I also live on sacred land and I don't see people very often. If I worked out in the public,
right,
and had to be in the public where there's a lot more free-floating negativity, I would probably do it more often. Now, clients that I have that do work in regular jobs, regular quote unquote, they keep one in their car. And the minute they get in their car, they cleanse their energy field. Or as soon as they get home, I have somebody who keeps it in her garage. So she gets out of her car and she does it before she goes into the house.
I do it sometimes when I get home.
Yeah. So it depends on your situation. Right. And when you feel like you need to be cleansed and cleared, it makes sense to do it at night after relating to people. But for some reason, I do it in the morning.
Well, like you said, it's part of your
my
routine,
morning ritual.
And you're not out and around all that energy. So,
and then I follow that up with a Purify Smudge Spray. It's something essential oil blend that I make. Because I do not like the smell of sage and the smoke. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't like it. Mostly because it smells like weed. I just don't happen to like that smell. And Palo Santo I will use, which I actually prefer, but it also has a very strong smell and it lingers. It just lingers in the air. And so I love the spray because I can spray myself and it feels refreshing. Mm-hmm. And so I follow up by spraying my entire energy field with a spray that is available on the website. And then I do tuning forks. I have the chakra tuning forks and I do those every day as well. No, most people don't have tuning forks at home, but I happen to. You can buy one tuning fork that's like a general overall good for your physical body, and you can have one that you use. I find it really helpful for balancing out if I'm feeling out of sorts or I have any physical pain, they are great for that. So those are my energetic everyday tools.
I tend to take a bath every evening. I've just recently started getting into that, like a nice salt bath or herb bath, depending on, depending on what kind of day I've had. But for me, it helps. I feel like a bath is just relaxing and cleansing anyway. Mm-hmm. But I always envision like everything that I've come in contact with that day just goes right down the drain after I've taken that bath.
Yes.
So, and that's good, like visualization too.
Yeah. And keeping your energy clean is important if you're wanting to create a reality. Right?
Create the reality that you want.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So those were our tips. Hope you guys, got something. I hope you wrote them down and they help you because they definitely help us.
For sure.
Very useful. And with that note, we're going to leave you guys with some words of wisdom. This is from Gandhi. And it says, keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive because your words become your behaviors. Keep your behaviors positive because your behaviors become your habits. Keep your habits positive because your habits become your values. And keep your values positive because your values become your destiny.